Hello. Hi, Jude. How's everybody? Welcome to Frankenstein Tea. I'm Kristen. I'm the director of the Island Free Library. And I have a coworker listening to me downstairs. So I am in the upper level of the library, and Judy, my coworker, is on the main floor working at her desk. And we just got her subscribed to the YouTube channel. So one more subscriber. If you're listening now and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It helps build our channel and makes it easier for everyone to access the information and programs we're bringing to you through the YouTube network. Frankenstein Tea is a daily program. I'm going to explain it a little bit today because I'm not sure my coworker Judy knows about it, and then she'll be able to relay that information to other library patrons. Frankenstein Tea is a daily program that I started during shelter in place on Block Island. It was at a time when we all at the library, all the library staff, really felt the need to stay connected to our patrons and our community, and to play a leadership role in the island, and and develop ways how to do that during shelter in place. And it remains true today. We have many island patrons, many people off island who are still not comfortable leaving their homes, or they may be comfortable leaving their homes, but they're not able to, or we hear a lot from our elder population that their kids don't want them to leave their homes. All those scenarios, or, potentially people don't feel well and shouldn't leave their homes. They're self-quarantining themselves, or maybe some people have COVID and can't leave their homes. There's a whole wide range of situations here that are going on. So we're working on ways to stay connected to our patrons. This is something that I started in March during that time. It is a daily program. It is named Frankenstein Tea for a few references. One is that Frankenstein is a permissible read. So, this is being recorded. This is on the internet. I should really be following copyright laws. There was some leniency during shelter in place the last few months about copyright permissions and what was permissible to read. They actually sort of stopped yesterday. So, it gets a little shakier for us. But you're allowed to read things that are 100 years old, 100 things in print. 100 years ago were printed. So Frankenstein is one of those. And then, of course, Frankenstein is also a reference to this monster of a virus, this monster of a disease, this monster of a time that we're having right now, this really monster of an experience we're all having. And yet, the tea references, can we sit down with it? Can we make some peace with it? Can we be calm and rational and take a moment and take a breath together and figure out a way to navigate these very difficult times? So that's a little bit about Frankenstein Tea, where it came from, what it means, why I named it that. Now, as far as the permissions and the copyrights, I don't always read something 100 years old. I don't always read something that I have permission to read. But please understand, I treat this program as Reader's Advisory, as sort of a short story book club. Those are definitely in my wheelhouse as a librarian, things that I am permitted to do. And so we carry forward, we carry on with this program, and I will carry on with this program for a long time. I enjoy it. I think it's great for my patrons. I think it's great for the library to be exploring pieces of the collection and turning on readers to different items that we have on our shelves right here at the Island Free Library. I often read to things that are on our shelves. Mostly I read things that are on our shelves. Once in a while, I'll print something off the internet, but mostly I read from material that's on our shelf. And I think it's great to explore readers that you may not necessarily, or writers that you may not necessarily read, authors, exposing people to new authors, new genres, new ideas, new thoughts, all those great things that reading does this is an opportunity for us to do that together, for you to hear from me on a daily basis, and for you to sit back and listen and maybe take a time out. I know Judy downstairs just told me she was getting a little antsy, a little bored at her desk. We're in here working, but our patrons are not in the building yet. So it does have a different vibe and a different feel. And of course, it's the classic 3:00 time when, you should go take a break, right? This is like, your biorhythms. This is one of those biorhythm times where like 3:00 is always a little bit of a slump, or generally a slump for most people. So Judy, make yourself some tea. I hope everybody has some tea. Hot or cold, maybe some water, maybe you have a little wine, a little afternoon wine. I'm not sure what you're having today, but I am happy that you tuned in. Thank you for listening. And know that I will continue to be here. So that's my intro for today. The other thing that we do at Frankenstein Tea is we do a little bit of a mental health check-in, right? How's everybody doing today? Right? Have you eaten right? Judy and I have not. We need food. Judy had some good food today. I need some good food today. Did you sleep well last night? Judy did not sleep well last night. I slept well last night. So, like what's happening with you, right? What do you need to do right now to turn around your day, other than listen to me read you a story, right? What would make the rest of your day fulfilling and whole and complete? And I encourage you to do that. Whatever that is, please take care of yourself today. Take care of yourself every day. All right. Today I'm going to read from someone who I've never read. He's quite famous. He has multiple famous published works, big, thick book. And I've never read him. And I found this book in the collection today. And it was fairly accessible for me. I was able to read a little bit of it. So I read a few stories and I picked one. I probably will come back to this book because, as you can see, there's quite a number of stories in this book. And I hope you sit back and relax and enjoy this one today. This book is The Stories of Vladimir Nabokov. Nabokov? It's always bad when you can't even, you're starting a program and you can't even pronounce the author. I can do Vladimir. I can never do this publisher. Alfred A. Knopf from New York, 1995, Stories of Vladimir Nabokov. And I am reading by Vlad called The Razor. His regimental comrades had good reason to dub him Razor. The man's face lacked a facade. When his acquaintances thought of him, they could imagine him only in profile, and that profile was remarkable. Nose sharp as a draftsman's triangle, chin sturdy as an elbow, long, soft eyelashes, characteristic of certain very obstinate, very cruel people. His name was Ivanov. That nickname of former days contained a strange clairvoyance. It is not rare for a man called Stone or Stein to become a perfectly good mineralogist. Captain Ivanov, after an epic escape and sundry insipid ordeals, had ended up in Berlin and chosen the very trade at which his nickname had hinted, that of a barber. He worked in a small but clean barber shop that also employed two young professionals who treated the Russian captain with jovial respect. Then there was the owner, a dour lump of a man who would spin the handle of the cash register with a silvery sound, and also a manicurist, anemic and translucent, as if she had been drained dry by the contact of innumerable fingers placed in batches of 5 on the small velvet cushion in front of her. Ivanov was very good at his work, although he was somewhat handicapped by his poor knowledge of German. However, he soon figured out how to deal with the problem. Tack a nicked onto the first sentence, an interrogative was onto the next, then night again, continuing to alternate in the same way. And even though it was only in Berlin that he had learned haircutting, it was remarkable how closely his manner resembled that of the tonsors back in Russia, with their well known penchant for a lot of superfluous scissor clicking. They'll click away, take aim, and snip a lock or two, then keep their blades going lickety split in the air as if impelled by inertia. This deft, gratuitous whirring was the very thing that earned him the respect of his colleagues. Without doubt, scissors and razors are weapons, and there was something about this metallic churr that gratified Ivanov's warlike soul. He was a keen-witted man. His vast, noble, splendid homeland had been ruined by some dull buffoon for the sake of a well-turned scarlet phrase, and this he could not forgive. Like a tightly coiled spring, vengeance lurked, biding its time within his soul. One very hot, bluish summer morning, taking advantage of the nearly total absence of customers during those workday hours, both of Ivanov's colleagues took an hour off. Their employer, dying from the heat and from long ripening desire, had silently escorted the pale, unresisting little manicurist to a back room. Left alone in the sun-drenched shop, Ivanov glanced through one newspaper, then lit a cigarette, and, all in white, stepped outside the doorway and started watching the passerby. People flashed past, accompanied by their blue shadows, which broke over the edge of the sidewalk and glided fearlessly underneath the glittering wheels of cars that left ribbon-like imprints on the heat-softened asphalt, resembling the ornate lacework of snakes. Suddenly, a short, thick-set gentleman in black suit and bowler, with a black briefcase under his arm, turned off the sidewalk and headed straight for White Ivanov. Blinking from the sun, Ivanov stepped aside to let him into the barber shop. The newcomer's reflection appeared in all the mirrors at once, in profile, three-quarter face, and showing the waxen bald spot and back from which the black bowler had ascended to snag a hat hook. And when the man turned squarely toward the mirrors, which sparkled above marble surfaces aglitter with green and gold scent bottles, Ivanov instantly recognized that mobile, puffy face with the piercing little eyes and a plump mole by the right lobe of his nose. The gentleman silently sat down in front of the mirror, then, mumbling indistinctively, tapped his untidy cheek with a stubby finger, meaning, "I want to shave." In a kind of astonished haze, Ivanov spread a sheet over him, whipped up some tepid lather in a porcelain bowl, started brushing it onto the man's cheeks, rounded chin, and upper lip, gingerly circumnavigating the mole, began rubbing in the foam with his index finger. But he did all this mechanically. So shaken was he by having encountered this person again. Now a flimsy white mask of soap covered the man's face up to his eyes, minuscule eyes that glittered like the tiny wheels of a watch movement. Ivanov had opened his razor and begun to sharpen it on a strap when he recovered from his amazement and realized that this man was in his power. Then, bending over the waxy bald spot, he brought the blue blade close to the soapy mask and said very softly, "My respects to you, comrade. How long has it been since you left our part of the world? No, don't move, please, or I might cut you prematurely. The glittering little wheels started moving faster, glanced at Ivanov's sharp profile, and stopped. Ivanov removed some excess flakes of lather with the blunt side of the razor and continued. I remember you very well, comrade. Sorry if I find it distasteful to pronounce your name. I remember how you interrogated me some 6 years ago in Kharkov. I remember your signature, dear friend. But as you see, I am still alive. Then the following happened. The little eyes darted about, then suddenly shut tight. Eyelids compressed like those of the savage who thought closing his eyes made him invisible. Ivanov tenderly moved his blade along the cold, rustling cheek. We're absolutely alone, comrade. Understand? One little slip of the razor, and right away there will be a good deal of blood. Here is where your throat throbs. So there will be a good deal, even a great deal of blood. But first, I want your face decently shaved, and besides, I have something to recount to you. Cautiously, with 2 fingers, Ivanov lifted the fleshy tip of the man's nose and, with the same tenderness, began shaving above the upper lip. The point, comrade, is that I remember everything. I remember perfectly, and I want you to remember too. And in a soft voice, Ivanov began his account as he unhurriedly shaved the recumbent, motionless face. The tale he told must have been terrifying indeed, because from time to time his hand would stop, and he would stoop very close to the gentleman sitting like a corpse under the shroud like sheet, his convex eyelids lowered. That is all, Ivanov said with a sigh. That's the whole story. Tell me, what do you think would be a suitable atonement for all that? What is considered an equivalent of a sharp sword? And again, keep in mind that we are utterly, totally alone. Corpses are always shaved, went on Ivanov, running the blade upward along the stretched skin of the man's neck. Those sentenced to death are shaved too. And now I am shaving you. Do you realize what is going to happen next? The man sat without stirring or opening his eyes. Now the lathery mask was gone from his face. Traces of foam remained only on his cheekbones and near his ears. This tensed, eyeless, fat face was so pallid that Ivanov wondered if he had not suffered a fit of paralysis. But when he pressed the flat surface of the razor to the man's neck, his entire body gave a twitch. He did not, however, open his eyes. Ivanov gave the man's face a quick wipe and spat some talcum on him from a pneumatic dispenser. That will do for you, he said. I'm satisfied. You may leave. With squeamish haste, he yanked the sheet off the man's shoulders. The other remained seated. Get up, you ninny, shouted Ivanov, pulling him up by the sleeve. The man froze with firmly shut eyes. In the middle of the shop, Ivanov clapped the bowler on his head, thrust the briefcase under his arm, and swiveled him toward the door. Only then did the man jerk into motion. His shut-eyed face flashed in all the mirrors. He stepped like an automaton through the door that Ivanov was holding open, and, with the same mechanical gait, clutching his briefcase with an outstretched, petrified hand, gazing into the sunny blur of the street with the glazed eyes of a Greek statue. He was gone. Nabokov, Vladimir Nabokov today. That was a short story from this book of stories, The Stories of Vladimir Nabokov, printed by Knopf in 1995 from the library collection. That story was called The Razor. Thanks for coming to Frankenstein Tea. Hi to my dad out there. He says we have 52 subscribers. That means we're more than halfway there. We're aiming for 100. Please tell your friends and neighbors, peers and colleagues, family. Subscribe to the Island Free Library YouTube channel. We'll be bringing you more program as the summer continues. We have some other ideas planned and some things already in motion. So thanks for coming to Frankenstein Tea today. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Have a great afternoon. Take care of yourselves.